Have you ever wondered what transpired behind the scenes of the iconic roundtable conferences that shaped Indian modern history? These meetings were no ordinary gatherings. They were turning points that forever altered the trajectory of India. Let's uncover the journey that led to these pivotal meetings and their impact on India's destiny. The story begins in the late 1920s, during a time of political unrest and burgeoning demand for freedom in India. The British Empire, ruling India from afar, was under increasing pressure to address the escalating tensions. In 1927, the Simon Commission was dispatched to India to study the political situation. However, the commission was met with widespread protests due to its lack of Indian representation. Indians across the country voiced their discontent, sparking the beginning of a united front against British rule. Then, in 1929, the Lahore Resolution was passed, demanding complete independence from British rule. This marked a significant turning point in the Indian struggle for freedom. In response to the growing unrest, the civil disobedience movement was launched in 1930. Led by Mahatma Gandhi, this mass protest against the British salt tax became a pivotal moment, amplifying the call for Indian autonomy. These events set the stage for the first of the Roundtable Conferences, a series of peace talks aimed at resolving the political deadlock. The first Roundtable Conference, held in London in 1930, marked a new chapter in the struggle for Indian independence. It was a series of 3 meetings, each with its unique set of attendees and agendas, but all aimed at discussing the future of India. The first conference, though grand in its intent, was somewhat marred by the absence of the Indian National Congress, the largest Indian political organization. The discussions revolved around minority representation and safeguards, but without the Congress, the outcomes were incomplete, to say the least. Then came the second Roundtable Conference in 1931, this time with a notable presence, Mahatma Gandhi. Representing the Indian National Congress, Gandhi put forth the demand for Swaraj or self-rule. He argued against the communal electorates and for the rights of the depressed classes. However, the divergence between the Congress and other Indian and British delegates over these issues led to a stalemate. Undeterred, the British organized the third and final Roundtable Conference in 1932. However, without the Congress and Gandhi, who were involved in the civil disobedience movement back in India, the conference couldn't make much headway. It did, however, lead to the controversial Communal Award by British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, which further divided Indian society. So, were these conferences a failure? Not quite. These discussions, disagreements, and debates were the first formal recognition by the British of Indians' political rights. They led to the Government of India Act of 1935, which granted provincial autonomy and expanded the electorate, becoming a stepping stone towards full independence. Though the Roundtable Conferences did not immediately lead to India's independence, they marked a significant shift in Britain's stance towards Indian self-rule. These conferences were not just meetings, but milestones on the long road to freedom. They were the platforms where India's demand for independence was voiced, argued, and ultimately acknowledged. In retrospect, the Roundtable Conferences were a turning point in the narrative of Indian independence. These gatherings, centered around a literal round table, were not just about diplomatic discourse. They represented the first significant recognition of India's right to self-governance by the British. The discussions and debates that took place were a testament to India's growing political maturity. They paved the way for future negotiations and ultimately the birth of an independent India. The legacy of the Roundtable Conferences resonates even today as a symbol of India's struggle for freedom. Against the backdrop of Indian modern history, these conferences stand out as a beacon of hope and determination. While the road to independence was long and arduous, the Roundtable Conferences were a significant milestone in India's journey towards self-rule.